His name is Richard Pulley. He is 78 years old. He lives in Manchester, Tennessee, a small town in the foothills of the Cumberland Plateau. He has been married to his wife Brenda for more than 56 years, and on the morning of March 10, 2026, a doorbell camera caught him doing something that stopped America cold. Richard was slowly climbing the porch steps of a customer's home, gripping the handrail, carrying a Starbucks order he had just delivered through DoorDash. He was dressed neatly, a button-up shirt tucked into khakis. He moved carefully. He was doing the best he could. The homeowner, a woman named Brittany Smith, watched that footage and could not shake what she had seen. She did not see just a delivery driver. She saw a 78-year-old man who should have been at home, resting, living, breathing, enjoying the years he had left. Instead, he was out on the road, delivering orders, because he had no other choice. Brittany went to social media and asked her followers to help her find him. She wrote, "Help me find this precious man. Why is he having to DoorDash at his age?" Within hours, the internet tracked down Richard Pulley. And then the truth came out. Richard and Brenda had come out of retirement more than a year earlier after Brenda lost her job, at no fault of her own. With just her Social Security and Richard's income gone from the picture, they could not make it. By the time they paid their monthly bills and bought their medication, there was nothing left. So they started doing DoorDash together. Brenda would drive the car. Richard would walk each order up to each door. Day after day, for over a year, that is how they survived. When Brenda was asked why they did not look for traditional jobs, she said something that should stop every one of us in our tracks. She said, "When you're past your mid-70s, there's not exactly a line of people waiting to hire you." Brittany Smith started a GoFundMe campaign called "Give Richard a Chance to Rest Again." America answered. Before we continue, if retirement today is giving you the real numbers and the honest truth about what retirement in America actually looks like, hit subscribe and turn on the bell. We go deep on Social Security, Medicare, healthcare costs, and everything else that affects your money and your security. As of this recording, more than 18,000 donors from across the country and around the world have contributed over $550,000 to help Richard and Brenda retire. The campaign raised more than $300,000 in its first 24 hours alone. When Richard sat down to talk about what had happened, he said something quiet and honest and heartbreaking. He said, "It's making life livable once again. Not extraordinary, not comfortable, livable." That one word tells you everything you need to know about where Richard Pulley was. And today on Retirement Today, we're going to talk about why Richard's story is not a fluke. It is not a random tragedy. It is a warning, because millions of Americans are quietly living some version of what Richard lived through. Right now, today, and most of them will never have a Brittany Smith at their door. Let's talk about what is really happening in America's retirement system and what you can do before it happens to you. Richard's situation started with a single event. One income disappeared. His wife lost her job. That is all it took. One job lost. And a retirement that had been holding together barely collapsed. This is not as uncommon as people think. In fact, the Employee Benefit Research Institute, one of the most respected retirement research organizations in the country, found in their 2024 Retirement Confidence Survey that nearly 7 in 10 retirees who retired earlier than expected did so for reasons completely outside their control. Health problems, a spouse's illness, job loss, caregiving responsibilities, the plan got upended by life. And when that happens in retirement, there is usually no recovery runway. You cannot negotiate a raise. You cannot pick up extra shifts easily at 76. You cannot simply go back to the job market at your former salary. As Brenda Pulley said plainly, there is not exactly a line of people waiting to hire you at that age. This is the quiet trap that millions of retired Americans are sitting inside right now without fully realizing it. Here is the bigger picture, and it is important that we look at these numbers honestly. According to the Social Security Administration, Approximately 94% of retirees in America report Social Security as a source of income in retirement. And among those retirees, approximately 66% report that Social Security is their major source of income. Not one income of many, their major source. That means 2 out of every 3 retired Americans in this country are primarily dependent on a government check to survive. The average monthly Social Security retirement benefit in 2025 was approximately $1,700. For a single person, that is $22,800 per year. For a couple where one spouse has little or no work history, the household total may not be much higher. Now think about what Richard and Brenda were living on: bills, medication, and after those 2 things, nothing. That is not a comfortable retirement. That is survival. Now let's talk about medication and healthcare costs, because this is the issue that broke the Pulley household, and it is breaking millions of others. According to Fidelity Investments' 2025 retiree healthcare cost estimate, a single 65-year-old retiree can now expect to spend an average of $172,500 on healthcare expenses throughout retirement. For a couple, Fidelity estimates approximately $345,000. That figure does not include long-term care costs. It does include Medicare premiums, co-pays, deductibles, and prescription drug costs. And here is what most people do not understand about Medicare. Medicare does not cover everything. There are still premiums to pay. There are still co-insurance costs. There are over-the-counter medications that are not covered. Dental care is not covered. Vision is not covered. The bills pile up month after month, year after year, and they do not slow down as you get older. They tend to get heavier. The Employee Benefit Research Institute's 2025 Retirement Confidence Survey found that about 2 in 5 retirees reported that their healthcare expenses in retirement had been higher than they expected. Not a little higher. Higher than expected. And more than half of workers surveyed said that the cost of healthcare is negatively impacting their ability to save for retirement right now, before they have even retired. So the costs are high going in, and they are higher than most people anticipated once they are in. That is a double wound. Now let's talk about savings, because this is where the picture becomes the most sobering. According to data from the Employee Benefit Research Institute, nearly 50% of American households risk facing a retirement shortfall. 50%. That means 1 in every 2 households does not have enough saved to maintain their standard of living through retirement. Fidelity research shows that while the average 401k balance has grown to approximately $110,000 in recent years, the median balance tells a very different story. The median 401k balance sits at approximately $35,000. That means half of all 401k account holders have less than $35,000 saved. At the widely used rule of thumb that you can safely withdraw about 4% of your savings per year, $35,000 produces roughly $1,400 a year in sustainable income. That is less than $120 a month. Combined with an average Social Security check of $1,900, many retirees are working with a total monthly income well under $2,100. Now subtract rent or a mortgage, subtract utilities, subtract groceries, subtract medication. You see how fast that disappears. According to the Social Security Administration's own fact sheet, approximately 30% of private sector workers have no access to a private pension or employer-sponsored retirement plan at all. No 401k offer, no pension, nothing. And for those workers who do not have employer-sponsored plans, the SSA found that only about 16% of them report having any retirement savings whatsoever. 16.